Hi, AJ Hartley here, and today I'm going to be talking about multitasking. I say multitasking for want of a better term. The question that I received from George, I have a variety of interests when it comes to writing, such as short stories, longer stories, poetry, and music. Do you think it makes more sense to focus on one project at a time so I can give it my full attention, or is it okay and maybe even beneficial to juggle multiple projects at once? It's a good question, and as is often the case with these kind of questions, I don't think that there's a single definitive answer. As with all of these kind of questions, I think the answer is whatever works for you. But you need to be really honest with yourself about the word work. What works for you? What works for you is partly what makes you feel good, partly what gives you a sense of closure and satisfaction. But it's also what produces actual product, and I mean finished product. If working on a bunch of different things means that you never finish any of them, then no, that doesn't work. Can they be mutually beneficial? Can they give you a break from each other? Can they, feed each other in some ways? Absolutely. But just keep an eye on this sense of actually completing stuff. That to me seems really important. I'm a hobby guy. I've always been a hobby guy. I do all kinds of things. Many of them are in some ways creative, productive, including, making furniture and stuff like that. And I work on model railways, and I paint, and I play the guitar and the piano and various other things. There was a point at which writing became my primary quote unquote hobby because it was the one that was generating some actual success, some product that I could share with people. And so that kind of started to occlude the other hobbies. This is normal, right? Especially if you have a job, right? For most of my writing career, I had a regular job. I also had family and, other kinds of interests that I couldn't always schedule around. So I prioritized the writing because that had to happen if I was going to actually generate stuff. I'm now retired from my day job. I still have a ton of stuff to do. I still find myself struggling to find time to do all the things that I'm interested in. And sometimes I have to really force myself to progress. And I think, I've said this before, measurable, realistic, attainable goals as far as your writing is concerned is a really useful thing to do. And maybe those are word counts per day or per week or per month. Maybe it's, I want to finish this project in the next 6 months. It doesn't really matter what the goals are, and I'm suspicious of people who try to give you absolute rules. You must write every day, otherwise you're not a real writer. That's bollocks. No. A lot of people just do not have those kind of resources of time and emotional or intellectual availability to do it, to say, I will write every day. I'm going to be Stephen King. I'm going to write every day, including Christmas Day. Well, okay. But then it really is there's a sort of Puritan work ethic element there that I'm suspicious of, that reduces the process of composition to mere production line production. So no, I'm wary of that. But I just think you've got to be, I guess, as I say, you've got to be realistic with yourself. If you set yourself unattainable goals, it's like starting the new year saying, I'm going to lose X number of pounds and I'm going to get in shape and I'm going to go to the gym every day. For most people, that's not something you're going to stick to. And the moment you fall off the wagon, you quit entirely. At least that's what a lot of people do, right? Because the goal was never attainable. So you've got to find things that you can actually do. Is it a problem to be writing songs and poems and such at the same time that you're writing a novel? Absolutely not. But if you find that you're working on loads of different things and none of them ever get finished, then it's a problem. Then, you need some discipline in your life, as well as creativity and the sort of the organic nature of the process. Those things are great. But at some point, if you're not actually delivering product, if you're never getting to the end of that first draft, then there's something wrong. I don't know what to tell you. So, yeah. Can you dabble in different things simultaneously? Absolutely. I'd be honest with you, when I'm generating first draft, I don't tend to. I tend to have a specific set of goals in mind, which I am channeling all my sort of free time, by which I mean mental free time, into. I might not be writing all the time, but the project is percolating in my head. Right now, I'm working on the third Hideki Smith book. I started working on that in December of last year, 2025. It is now mid-April of 2026. I have 80,000 words, and I'm shooting for a total of about maybe 110,000 for the completed project. That's how long book 2 was, and I want this to be about the same. I know at this point, I know where the story is going. There's going to be some fine tuning, but I'm at that point in the narrative where the whole story is barreling towards a conclusion. I know what has to happen. I just have to write it, and I want to get it done at this point, quickly, possibly within the next. My wife's going to be out of town for almost a week, and that'll be a heavy writing time for me. My usual word count target is about 3,000 words a day. While she's away, I will do nothing except write and maybe, and eat and sleep, and maybe take a little, fun break from time to time. But I don't think 6,000 words a day is unreasonable. I won't be doing anything else. And so, I'm hoping to have a first draft done by the time she gets back. Then I can let it sit and start work on editing it. But as I say, I started this book back in December. And, then you have Christmas and the holidays, and I have family visiting and such. So I get very little done late December and into January. And my son was home from college and such. So I'm not doing anything then. And then I spent all of February in Japan. Now, that's related to the book. It's related to the project. I'm thinking about it all the time, but I did no writing at all. So I didn't actually hit the ground running again until we were back here in March. So in real terms, I've only been working on this book for a couple of months. But it is something that I've been thinking about off and on for a long time, for a year almost, right? So I think a degree of focus to create so that you can see the finish line and push for it, I think is a really good thing. Have I done other things along the way? Yeah, of course. I fiddle with my model railway and I make little things, and but I don't take on really big projects because this is my big project. This is what demands my attention. And, a novel is a big thing. And I'm at that age where I can't just sort of take huge amounts of time off and then just pick it up again when I come back, because I forget stuff. That's just true. I need to keep it front of mind so that even when I'm, just lying in bed right before I go to sleep or taking a walk, it's percolating at the back of my mind, if not at the front, if not at the sort of conscious level of me trying to figure certain things out. So whether it's plot points or just phrases, bits of dialogue or something. If it's at the back of my mind, then it's sort of percolating. And the following day when I come to write, some of those things that I had been wrestling with, I have a clearer sense of, and I can get on with them. I need that. I need that degree of a sort of tunnel vision in order to get through the project, because otherwise And I think this is particularly true of young writers. You get distracted by things and then you find yourself losing interest in the project that you were working on and you want it to be something else. I've had a different idea. I want to push the story in a different direction. That's almost always a recipe for disaster. Not always, but a lot of the time it is. It means that the story loses its sense of identity. You have to start rewriting all kinds of things, and the book is mutated into something which doesn't really work, and there's a decent chance that you'll never finish it. Conversely, you just start a new thing. You start a new project, and this goes onto the back burner, and for the most part, it will stay there. So, again, bottom line, you do what works for you, but make sure it actually works. And actually works means delivering product. If you're spending a lot of time doing creative work and months go by and you still don't have a first draft, then it doesn't work for you. It's not working. And you need to be maybe a little bit more ruthless with yourself and say, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to push through until I can get to the end. Then you can put it aside and work on other things. That's what I would really recommend. Get through your first draft, then do other stuff. Forget about the current book that you've just written. Work on your other things. Work on your songs and your poems and your paintings and whatever. And then come back to the book fresh. See it with new eyes. And then you can start to edit it. And I think that's a really healthy way of approaching the subject. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Thanks, George, for the question. Keep them coming. And as ever, of course, like, comment, subscribe, check out my books, check out my Patreon page. My patrons get to see these videos in advance and their support helps to keep the channel going. Check out my little Dashery store and I will talk to you again soon. Thanks. Bye.